This story begins in the remote desert of South Jordan. In the year 1916, a time when World War I was at its peak, here we see a boy named Thebe who lives with his older brother Hussein in this barren wilderness. Their parents had passed away long ago. The two brothers belonged to the Hawatet tribe, also known as the Bedouin tribe, a nomadic Arab group found in the desert regions of the Arabian Peninsula. The term nomadic refers to people who do not have a permanent home and travel through the desert for years at a time. Their main work involves guiding pilgrims to their destinations, as they know the desert routes well, even have camels and a rifle. In his spare time, Hussein sometimes teaches Thebe how to shoot. He loves his younger brother dearly. After their parents' death, Thebe is all he has. One night, several other nomadic sheiks set up camp nearby and spend the night playing gambling games. That same night, two more travelers arrive at the camp. One is a sheik, and the other is a British officer named Edward. They are on a mission to meet a group involved in the Arab revolt. The sheik with Edward introduces himself as Margie, and he is guiding Edward to the rebel group. Thebe has never seen a white man before. Edward looks very different. His skin, his clothes, and even his language make him stand out. Margie and Edward are welcomed warmly. Thebe keeps watching Edward, full of curiosity. Later that night, food is prepared for the guests, but Edward doesn't seem to like the taste and leaves. Thebe quietly follows him and offers him some water. That night, Margie asks someone about Thebe, and he's told that Thebe's father, who once led the tribe, passed away a long time ago. Edward offers cigarettes to the sheiks. Thebe keeps asking his brother what Edward said and what language he's speaking. That night, Thebe watches Edward sleep, noticing how he breathes heavily due to the desert cold. The next morning, Thebe holds a mirror in his hand and curiously looks at Edward. He asks him if he is a prince, but Edward doesn't understand his language. Thebe begins examining Edward's belongings and notices a small locked box. Just as he's about to open it, Edward shouts and snatches it away, scaring Thebe, who runs back to his brother. We then learn that *** Margie and Edward must travel to the Roman well *** to meet the Arab rebels, but they need a guide. Someone tells them the well lies along a pilgrim's path, but since the Ottoman railway was built, people have stopped using the route. Now it's watched by bandits. At Margie's request, the local sheik tells him that Hussein will guide them to the Roman well. Thebe, hiding nearby, hears everything. Hussein prepares to leave, and Thebe, heartbroken that his brother is going without him, decides to follow them. He rides his donkey through the desert, but as evening falls, he loses sight of them. Eventually, his donkey collapses from exhaustion, and Thebe continues on foot, leaving the donkey behind. Following camel tracks, crosses the desert, but eventually the tracks disappear, and Thebe is forced to choose his own path. As night falls, he sees a distant campfire. When he reaches it, he finds Hussein, Margie, and Edward camped there. Before continuing the video, a quick request to 99% of you watch but don't subscribe or like the video. Please make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. The next morning, Margie and Edward argue about whether to take Thebe along, since the journey ahead is dangerous. The main issue is how will Thebe return if he comes further with them. If Hussein takes his brother back, the mission will fail. Left with no other choice, they decide to bring Thebe along. The group passes through a valley and stops in a dangerous area known for bandits. Edward is in a hurry and wants to continue. On night they rest. Thebe looks at Edward's watch, which contains a photo of his wife. Thebe wants to ask questions, but neither of them understands the other's language. Margie sings a song, and the group slowly falls asleep. The next morning, they continue their journey under the scorching heat. Eventually, they spot 6 men on camels in the distance. Stop, unsure whether these men are friend or foe. Not wanting to waste time, they keep moving and stop at another location. Hussein begins making bread. Thebe still wants to look inside Edward's box and asks his brother why Edward gets angry whenever he touches it. Hussein tells him the box likely contains gold. Later, when Thebe touches the box again, Edward pushes him away, making Hussein furious. A physical fight breaks out between Edward and Hussein, but Margie arrives and calms them down. Hussein warns Thebe not to touch the box again the next day. They finally reach Roman Well, where Margie is supposed to meet his allies, but they fear bandits might be watching. Edward draws water from the well, only to see that it turns red with blood. They all peer into the well and find 2 dead bodies inside, a clear sign of danger. They flee the area and not. Far off, they spot riders on camels. Margie signals to check if they are his men but gets no response, confirming they are bandits. The group runs, eventually taking shelter from a sandstorm. That night, Edward and Margie argue again. Edward says they can't take Thebe and Hussein any further. Margie insists he won't abandon them, since he brought them under his responsibility. The brothers, unable to understand English, don't know what's being decided. The next morning, Margie and Edward prepare to leave. When Hussein asks why, Margie says their journey together ends here. They can return to their camp. But Hussein decides to follow them anyway, believing they will get lost without a proper guide and may die of thirst. Thebe initially refuses, but then agrees after some convincing. They rejoin Edward and Margie. Soon after, they reach another well, all of them desperate for water. Just as Edward begins drinking, a bullet hits his chest, killing him instantly. Gunshots ring out. Margie and the brothers scatter. It's the bandits they feared. Margie tries to pull Edward's body to safety, thinking he might still be alive. But another shot hits Margie in the head, killing him instantly now. Only Hussein and Thebe are left. And with the bandits closing in, escaping from the desert alive seems almost impossible. Would you like me to continue the next part of the story or summarize it more briefly for a different format? Here is the English translation of the second part of your story, continuing from where the last translation left off. As the camels stop, the bandits are also nearby. In the desert, escaping without camels is like inviting death. The 2 brothers run and climb up some rocks. From there, Hussein fires at the bandits, managing to kill 2 of them. Earlier, the bandits had ordered them to surrender, but Hussein refused, knowing they would be killed regardless. And even if they survived, without camels, they could never make it through the desert, where long journeys are impossible without proper transportations. Evening falls, darkness blankets the entire valley. The bandits' voices echo all the way up to where the brothers are hiding that night. Hussein tells Thebe that if anything happens to him, Thebe should climb higher up the rocks and wait near the well once the danger passes. Someone would surely come to help. Hussein knows very well the bandits won't spare him. He had killed 2 of their men, and now they knew exactly where he was hiding. Suddenly, the bandits begin firing at them. Hussein grabs Thebe and tries to escape, but he is hit by a bullet and dies on the spot. Thebe runs in panic. Because of the darkness, he can't see properly and falls into the well. Luckily, he grabs the rope and hangs on. One of the bandits sees him and fires several bullets into the well, but due to the rock's cover, Thebe isn't hit. The bandit then cuts the rope, hoping Thebe, if alive, would be trapped inside. Clinging to the rocky wall inside the well, Thebe somehow manages to survive until morning. At sunrise, he climbs out of the well and collapses from exhaustion. After some time, he regains consciousness and starts searching for his brother, only to find Hussein's lifeless body not far away. Devastated, Thebe cries over his brother's body. He had loved him deeply and followed him into the desert for this reason. Now, his brother was gone. After grieving for a while, Thebe buries Hussein and places a large stone over his grave. As evening approaches again, Thebe hears strange sounds echoing through the valley, the sounds of wild desert animals. He spends a long, lonely night in that eerie atmosphere. The next morning, Thebe wakes up thirsty. God, he can't drink any water. The bandits had cut the well's rope and taken all the supplies and camels. A while later, he sees a camel approaching. When he reaches it, he sees an injured man on its back. One of the bandits. Now unconscious, Thebe gets the camel to kneel and pulls the bandit off. He finds a rope with a water bag tied to it. He drinks the water and relieves his thirst. The bandit is still unconscious. Thebe wants to ride the camel and leave, but doesn't know how. He searches the bandits' bags and finds Edward's box, the same one he had been curious about. As night falls, Thebe lights a fire to survive the freezing desert cold. Next morning, the bandit regains consciousness and watches Thebe. He is badly wounded and can't move. He asks Thebe for water, and Thebe gives him some, though fearful that this might be the same man who killed his brother. Thebe then takes the bandit's gun and points it at him. He could have killed him then and there, but chooses not to. The bandit tries to grab Thebe, who runs and screams for help, but there's no one around. The bandit yells that if Thebe runs, he'll die, because only the bandit can help him survive in this harsh place. After thinking for a while, Thebe returns to him. That night, the bandit speaks gently and tells Thebe he won't harm him. He introduces himself as Hazen. But Thebe still doesn't trust him and keeps the gun pointed. Hazen asks several questions about Edward, but Thebe doesn't answer. The next morning, while Thebe is asleep, Hazen takes the gun, but doesn't shoot. This builds a bit of trust. Later, Thebe cooks bread and shares half with Hazen, warning him not to betray him. Hazen tries to remove the bullet from his leg with a dagger, but fails. He asks Thebe to help. Thebe helps remove the bullet, heats the dagger, and returns the gun to Hazen in case of danger. Hazen then cauterizes his wound and faints. Thebe waits by his side. Later, Hazen wakes up. He has Edward's asterisk lighter, and cigarettes, and tells Thebe that his fellow bandits betrayed him leaving him behind to die. Next day, they prepare to travel. Thebe says goodbye to his brother's grave and sets out with Hazen on the camel. They journey through the night, guided by the moonlight, heading west by morning. They reach the Ottoman railway tracks, which they follow toward the railway station. Hazen tells Thebe that this track is what ruined them. It was built by the British and used by Ottoman soldiers and pilgrims. Journeys that once took months by camel now take a week. Soon, they come across Arab revolutionaries, fighters rebelling against the Ottoman Empire. They were waiting for a British officer to help them attack the station. That officer was Edward, now dead. When asked who he is, Hazen lies and says he's a guide for pilgrims to Mecca, and Thebe is one of them. But the men correct him, saying Mecca is in the opposite direction. They notice a British gun in Hazen's possession and grow suspicious. He lies again, claiming he bought it in Egypt. They then ask Thebe if he saw any British officer, but Thebe denies it. The rebels move on. That night, Hazen shares more stories with Thebe, claiming to have traveled all over the Arab world. Thebe now feels somewhat safe with Hazen, though still mourning his brother's death. The next morning, they follow the tracks and come across dead revolutionaries who had fought the Ottomans alongside the British. Eventually, they reach the railway station. Hazen hides his gun in a camel bag and tells Thebe to wait outside. Inside, he meets an Ottoman officer and hands over Edward's valuable items, his watch, documents, and the wooden box that Thebe had always been curious about. When the officer opens the box, he finds a detonator, a kind of dynamite. Edward was carrying this to blow up the railway track, but he was delayed. His allies were killed. The officer asks Hazen where he got all this. Hazen lies again, saying he bought it in Egypt. The officer pays him in silver coins. He then tries to offer one coin to Thebe, but Hazen stops him and lies again, claiming Thebe is his son. Thebe now realizes how cunning and deceitful Hazen is. The officer insists on giving Thebe a coin, but he refuses. Hassan takes all the silver coins. As Hassan walks outside counting the coins, Steb pulls out the gun from the camel's bag and points it at him. Hazen understands this is the end. Thebe shoots him dead, avenging his brother's murder. When the officer comes out, Thebe tells him the truth. This man had killed his brother. The officer lets Thebe go. Thebe mounts the camel and rides into the vast desert. He has no idea where he's going. He cannot return to his camp, because now he has no one left. He looks out over the endless sands. And with that, story ends. If you'd like, I can also help turn this into a script, asterisk video. Narration or summary asterisk. Just let me know how you'd like to use it.